Welcome to 10x your workflow with AI and Claude Code. Thank you guys so much for being here, especially y'all that stood in line to get on in. I'm Sam Fife, and we're going to start off today with just a little story time. So 2 years ago, 24 months, feels like a lifetime ago, I came to this building for the first time for my first Tableau conference. And at the time, I had a client we were building Tableau dashboards for, and ultimately this client was putting these dashboards on their website for the public to consume. And so at the time, coming to the conference, I was really interested in the embedding API. I was really interested in learning how we could take a Tableau dashboard and extend it in a web app. And so I signed up for all of the hands-on trainings. How many of you guys do hands-on training this week? All right, lots of hands up. So I went to this hands-on training. I went to multiple. I went to this first one, you sign into like a virtual machine, you follow the steps, you're editing some code, you're pasting in a little code snippet, something like that. And it was really good. I was like, this is so cool. We're adding, filters outside the dashboard that interact with the dashboard. We're pulling data out of the dashboard, putting it into the web app. It was really neat. So at the end, I went up to wait to speak to the presenters. And when I got up to speak with them, I said, hey, this is really cool. I want to learn more. But there's one problem. I don't know anything about JavaScript. And I asked, a somewhat naive question, like, is there an easy way to get started? Like, is there an easy way to have a JavaScript framework where I can just, I can edit code, but I don't know my way around JavaScript? And they didn't really have a good answer at the time. And, I went back to work and family and looked around. I was like, I don't have time to do an online class to learn this, and life went on. Well, obviously, things have changed a lot in the last 24 months. We're going to talk about that today. And not just the last 24 months, but things feel like they're changing every week. Definitely, from the time I put in this presentation to speak to you all till now, Claude Code and the whole Anthropic ecosystem and AI tools, they're changing every week. So I thought I need to keep up with the times, to rebrand a little bit here. So now we're going to call it Tableau Maxing today with AI and Claude Code. All right, so main objective today is not going to give you guys a list of things to go do specifically. What I want you guys to come out of this presentation feeling is like, I need to go build something. I've had this idea, and I hope this is the push to get you guys just to go and actually do that thing. And so there's two things we're going to try to do today. Just convince you, get started with Claude Code. And the second thing is just to take a different perspective on Tableau than maybe you did before. All right, so we're going to set the stage. We're going to talk about 10xing. We're going to talk about Claude Code and Tableau, and then do some demos. I don't think I practiced the demos enough. I think it's going to be great, though. All right, so quick round to name that chart. I got some Claude stickers ready to go for whoever can shout this out. Any guesses? Just shout it out once you have one. And we got a little timeline. Okay, how about a little point of reference here? A couple other ideas. Any guesses? All right, I'll give you the measure. Anyone? That guy right there, get that guy's sticker. All right, so this is questions asked on Stack Overflow over time. So if you ever did a coding project over the last 15 years and you weren't a unicorn developer, like you open up your browser and you've got dozens of Stack Overflow pages open to reference the code so you can go back and figure out what you're going to do. And obviously this chart, it just dropped off a cliff. And so what's happened? Well, after their recent earnings call, Jensen Huang from NVIDIA said, 3 inflection points in AI over the last 2 years: generative, reasoning, and agents. And so today, obviously, we're going to talk about Claude Code, an agent. For our purposes today, an agent, let's just keep it simple. There's 2 main things. An agent is AI-backed tool that can do real stuff. And also it has some level of autonomy. And you might see something called an agent loop, which looks something like this. You just give the LLM a task, while it's not done, check it out, go do something, and then see where you're at, and then just keep going. So what happened right around the start of the year? So Claude Code's not new. So Claude Code was around at TC25 last year. But what's changed? So right around the start of this year, a number of things happened right in a row. the product, we got a new Opus model. It was great. Claude Code got an update. It was great. The benchmarks were great. And the creator of Claude Code, right around that time as well, Anthropic put out Cowork. How many of you guys have tried Cowork? Yeah. And so the creator of Claude Code, they asked him, how much of Claude Cowork did Claude Code write? And his quote, all of it. So now, in a now famous tweet, Andre Karpathy wrote this. He says, "There's a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you fully give into the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget the code even exists." All right, and that's our goal. For most of us, we're not software developers. We're maybe not comfortable in writing code. That's not a requirement anymore. In fact, code's becoming so cheap that it's just really, it's approaching free to generate code. And we're not going to get deep into the risks of vibe coding today, but just the ability to go from nothing to writing code is so approachable today. So I'm sure a number of us have seen some kind of matrix like this in our jobs. You get a list of tasks or strategies or initiatives or whatever, and you're asked to rank them. You give a value score or impact score, and then like a cost or effort score. And you plot them on the chart, and it's really useful because obviously you look for stuff that's high value, low effort, or we're going to do that first. Now, when the work you do involves code, or code could be part of the work you do, or AI can impact it in another way, we should be doing that as much as possible. What happens is the effort axis, it gets compressed. And all of a sudden, like what we used to not even consider as a project, like you might have thought, hey, it'd be really cool if we could do this thing, but that's so crazy, we're not even going to put it on the list. Well, we have to reevaluate all of these things we thought we should do before, or thought we shouldn't even attempt before. Not only can we do them now, but like in my business as a consultant, we're starting to create solutions we wouldn't even have considered 12 months ago, let alone 24 months ago. And these things, like we're going to talk with someone later, where they just happen. They move directly from this is an idea to, hey, I have a prototype that's 80% complete, and I did it yesterday. And so we're going to talk about what it means to be that 10x developer. All right, so if you go on YouTube, there's a lot of hype, right? If you just type in Claude Code, I had no problem finding lots and lots of screenshots that say 10x on them. There's, I could not include any copyrighted images, but I wanted to show one that says, these go to 11. Can anybody shout out the name of that movie? All right, come get a sticker later. All right. So we're not going to go deep on this today because I know you guys want to see some stuff. So just a couple important things. When you're a 10x developer, when you reach that moment where you feel like you have superpowers, one of the main things that I see is that you don't just have an idea and then have to go talk to somebody about it. You have an idea and it's built, or the prototype is built, and before you would have had to hand off requirements to somebody. And so it's about creating products and shipping them end to end. And then you're getting into areas where maybe you weren't comfortable before. You don't have to have a software background to work with code anymore. So I think of like a player card. If you're on like a video game and you've got certain skills. So we're all good at something. We all have these core skills. We all have like our secondary skills. And then we have areas where it's like, I wish I was better at this thing. But I don't know. It's like the JavaScript class I wanted to take. Like, I don't have time for that yet, but I work with a guy who can do that. And so you end up having to hand off work. But with AI, not only are you multiplying your skills, so like the stuff you're good at, AI tools like Claude Code can make you extremely good at them. Maybe because the quality goes up, the speed goes up, things like that. But it can also help fill in the gaps. So somewhere that was the edge for you before, Claude Code can be your employee that fills in to help you with that. So like what you need to think about, what are your adjacent skills? Where do you run out of the ability to do the work you're doing? Like, where are those edge cases? And it's going to be different for everybody, but it's not just technical. So we have a lot of developers in the crowd. I want you to also think about like, hey, I like to work in tech, but maybe in my career, I want to get into management, or I want to be part of sales, or I want to help set strategy. Well, AI can help you with that too. So a lot of us here, at the Tableau conference, we have a job that, if we're thinking about like a data stack, we fit somewhere in this area, like analytics, BI, we're working in the tool, or maybe like if we're lucky, we get to work in the data warehouse layer, do some data modeling, affect that. But on the data side, it just keeps going, like all the way back to where the data actually gets created. All right? But that's not the end of the stack. The stack also goes the other direction. So, a lot of the dashboards we create, they have a purpose. Like somebody's supposed to go there, see a number, take an action, do something like that. There's a reason the actions need to be taken. And, it doesn't have to be a tech stack, but I want you to start thinking about like your role, your company, your organization, what you do. There is some process flow. It doesn't have to be technical. Like the people you work with, they have a certain job and you work together. But your role, you plus AI, you can start to expand. And I think this is a really important point today. Hopefully we get some cool technical stuff, but the AI is a tool and it can really just give you guys the ability. You don't have to be fixed in what you do. You plus AI, you can move up and down the stack if you want. You don't have to feel fixed in your role. And it's your responsibility to pick that up and decide what you want to do with it. But I'm just trying to give you that push, like you can do it. All right, so a quick overview on Claude if you're somehow got here and you don't know about Anthropic. So like they have a ton of tools. Like this slide I built a few weeks ago is already outdated. Like they're just rolling out stuff. We're gonna focus in on Claude Code today. You may have just used like regular AI chat. Cowork's pretty cool. I'm getting started with Cowork's, really neat. They've also got extensions into things like Chrome and Microsoft Office suite stuff. So their focus on enterprise has been really, really great. So we're gonna focus in on Claude Code today. So I actually had Claude Cowork build this slide for me. So just to give you an idea, like I said, hey, go out and get, I want to build a timeline from this date to this date. I want to put the models on top, all the features that have been rolling out. Claude Cowork went and built that for me. I had to change a little bit, but it built all these objects in the timeline for me. But just look, like when I put in the pitch to give this presentation back right around Jan 1, like Cowork had just come out and they've just been rolling out stuff on a weekly basis since. Okay, so if you're starting from scratch, what's Claude Code? So it's an agent, it lives in your command line or in some other places now. And it reads files, it can create files, and it can do a whole bunch of stuff. It can run code. But I want you to start thinking about it like your coworker, your personal coworker. And how we work with this, gotcha. You describe the goal. Claude gives you a plan and you say go. It's really easy to get started. All right, if you're comfortable in your command line, which you need to start getting comfortable in your command line, you can run a simple command. You can download it against different features. We're not going to go in depth on all these kind of things today, but you're going to be managing context in your Claude Markdown file. You're going to create some skills. Hopefully we'll get a look at that today. When you're working in Claude Code, there's different things like plan mode is awesome. You're going to get real familiar with that. But it can also run like multiple agents at a time. You're running sessions where your context is all contained inside of a session, which you can control. And then there's other things you can do, like work with in Claude Code. You get your AI employees to start helping. What you do is you log in, you launch Claude Code, and you just describe what you want to do. And maybe you have a really good idea what you want to do, maybe you don't. but you're going to start out by planning with Claude. Claude's going to help you come up with a plan. And then once you approve that plan, it goes to work for you. You review the results, and then you do it all over again. You're definitely going to focus on writing a good plan first. Now, the tool's actually getting better all the time, so you used to really have to focus on planning. But and just something I call out here to make sure if you're worried about this, Claude only has access to what you give it access to. When you're giving instructions, certain things you want to be explicit about. Like a real pro tip for this that was a big advance once I learned this was like, ask it what you're not thinking about. Hey, what should I be telling you? Or what information do you need that I haven't given you yet? And then keep focusing through all of this. We don't want Claude to just do everything for us and not teach us anything. But there's actually a style of output you can enable where Claude will teach you what it's doing while it's doing it. If you saw me last year, I did a presentation on math, so I just add a little math there at the bottom. 0 times anything is 0, so keep learning so AI can multiply your skills. All right, speaking of skills, so a skill is like, so I say a repeatable instruction. So you're gonna find something you like to do with Claude, and you wanna do it again. You don't wanna write the whole prompt. Well, you can just create a skill so you can type in, hey, do this thing again. There's actually a built-in skill, it's called Skill Creator, that will help you do that. Anthropic's also got a number of like official skills out there, but this is a great place to go look for ideas of what to do with Claude Code, because people say, hey, this task is so useful, we're gonna create a skill so we can do it again. So once we get up and running with Claude Code, you're really not thinking about the code, all right? Everyone here can start thinking about the product. What are you actually building? What are you actually creating? Let Claude Code do all the tedious stuff. All right, but we're not at the Claude conference, we're at the Tableau conference. So just a few things to set the stage, right? Like we love Tableau. A lot of us are managing Tableau environments that are up and running, and we like it for a number of reasons, not least of which we've got this, it's like an approved, governed, regulated, we've got our trusted data. We put a lot of this work into building this environment out. And we're supporting lots of users today. It's very useful. So how can we do more with that? And I was actually excited to see this slide on the keynote yesterday, because this echoed my sentiments. So just the line at the bottom, it says flexible, secured, governed, composable now, extensible, agentic, right? So Tableau is clearly taking a posture of opening up the platform to work with agents. Of course, there's one other thing we got, data fam. All right, so next chance to earn some stickers. By the way, stickers are on the honor system. You're just gonna have to come see me after, be cool. Who can shout out an API? REST. Document. Anyone else? Hyper. Couldn't hear that one. So there's like, I had no idea how many APIs there were, so we're just gonna start pulling them out. So I heard Hyper, metadata, embedding API brought up earlier, the REST API, of course. We've got extensions you can build, there's VizQL, there's Pulse, there's all this stuff. So, and this is not it, right? But because Tableau is such a mature product, there is this really, really rich back-end set of tools that are out there, and it's all code. And so we're not gonna dive into any of these specifically, but I had Claude help me compile like a list of all the things you can do with the API, and like here's just a few of the categories. And then if you break down one of these categories, like on the REST API, here's like the first 50 use cases out of over 300 that Claude pulled together. And just to compile a summary here of all these different APIs out there, how many different capabilities the API has. Here we're over like 1,000 capabilities. And it's a little daunting, but there's even more code surfaces in Tableau. Most notably on this list, the workbook. How many of you guys have ever opened a workbook as XML and actually like looked in the code? Yeah. So the workbook itself is code on the back end. I saw a guy on LinkedIn, he was doing the same stuff with prep flow. He was breaking a prep flow down into code. Obviously your calcs are code. there's so many surfaces in Tableau that are not drag and drop. We're not even going to talk about MCP today. I saw there's all these other sessions out here on MCP. I encourage you to go find one. I highlighted one that's later today. Like, we're not even going to talk about that today. That obviously is a way that you can interact with Tableau. All right, bring it all together. Okay, core question today. What is the use case for Claude Code and Tableau? I'm not here to tell you that. I see this type of question asked on forums, like, what do I do with it? I turned it on. What do I do now? If that's what you leave thinking, like, well, I didn't get a use case I wanted, then I failed today. We just saw there's over 1,000 different things the API can do. So what we're going to talk about today is, like, how do we start to think about bringing that together into an idea? So this is concept of a primitive. So when you think about a process and you start to subdivide it into individual things it can do, then we start to approach the ability to plan out a session with Claude Code. So when you plug Claude into something, it's going to break a process down into these primitives and think about, well, how do I string these together to turn it into a solution? And so, like, Tableau has a number of these things, but when you bring Claude Code to the table, it's also got all these other primitives it can work with. We've talked about things like, working in the command line. Like, if you're afraid of GitHub, Claude Code does all that for you. All right, so when we think like an engineer. So we have a problem. We want to get from one end to the other. We have all these tools in the middle. And so what Claude can, and you can do this with AI, but what you want to do is think about, how do I string these primitives together to achieve my objective? And it's not something that you have to do on your own. Maybe you just can describe what you want to do. Claude Code or other AI tools are going to help you figure out what that looks like and then help you build it. Okay, so this is a big hurdle for a lot of us if we're not software developers. Like, okay, it's cool, I wrote some code, but what do I do with it, right? And so maybe, a couple years ago, coming out of the conference, I could pretty soon after that go on AI and it would write me up a basic JavaScript app. But, like, then what? All right, so this is something that I would definitely recommend if you're interested in this. Start to get comfortable with what you do with the code once you put it out. Like, notably on here, like, I was pretty comfortable up to number 1, all right? But then eventually I learned, oh, you can actually, like, run a web app just on your desktop. So you can write the code and launch it in your browser and test it out without having to actually push it anywhere. There's a big jump after that where you learn, hey, I actually, like, have a thing that lives somewhere else and it runs on its own. And then from there, like, you're getting into full software development where you actually have, like, an app that's deployed, or you're building, like, a desktop application. All right, yeah, remember our JSON skills? All right, so bring it all together. So, like I said, I'm going to show you some stuff here, but what I want you to leave here thinking is, hey, I have this idea. Let me break it down into a string of things to do and see if we can piece that together into a solution. When you do that and you're working with AI, you really want to test, like, what I tell people is, you want to test every one of those primitives. You want to see if the AI can do this, if it's good at it. Because remember, we're working with a probabilistic system. So we want to just make sure that the output is good. All right, so with that said, all right, so let's try some demos. All right. Okay, so we're going to start with, see how many of these we can get through. All right, do you guys remember a site called Kaggle? It was real big in data science. They're still around. So a lot of us, how many of you guys use Tableau Public, like build dashboards and put stuff out? Tableau Public, yeah. So one of the hardest parts about creating your personal catalog is getting data that's useful. So what I did for this demo is I have some URLs to some Kaggle data sets, and we are just going to grab one of these. Let's see. Grab this last one. All right, so I'm working in VS Code. You can use your ID of choice. You can work directly in a command line. First thing I'm going to do is launch Claude. You guys see that, right? Okay. Okay, so there's our little guy. All right, and I'm just going to tell Claude, hey, I like to be friendly. Hey, Claude, can you download and publish this data set. And I left off, so we're going to skip plan mode. We're going to go right to auto mode. Auto mode's a newer feature where it just uses its best judgment whether it should ask you for permission or not. So reason I'm starting here, this should be pretty basic. I want to show that Claude can handle files. So if you're not working with a well-established data warehouse, you're working with flat files, Claude is excellent at this. I had a situation in the fall where a client sent me a 10 gigabyte Parquet file that I needed to put into Tableau. And well, you can't just open a Parquet file in Excel, especially not a giant one like that. And so I had Claude Code open the file, and I needed it to be smaller, and I needed it to be a CSV. So I said, hey, tell me which columns in this file are taking up the most space. And there was this massive free text field that was taking up about 50% of the space. Claude was able to kind of profile that file for me, tell me that, convert it to a CSV, do any of the data manipulation that I needed, and then give me the file in a way that I could use it. And so what we're going to do, we'll see if we can catch this as it goes. So I've got my dev site spun up here, and we're just going to flip back and forth and see. Yeah, there we go. So let's see if it loaded. So that was the World Happiness Index. Come on, Wi-Fi. All right, hey, so it showed up. So this data set was just published. All I did was give Claude Code a link. Now, I did some work previously to load this, but just to show you, this data is real. So I'm going to spin up online, web authoring, and click. So there we go. So this is real data. The real work went into setting up this demo, and you can see that what Claude actually did is write some scripts for me. So here's Python, like this, this is the kind of thing I probably could have done at one point, but it would have taken me days, all right? And I'd been all over Stack Overflow finishing every one of these. And we can see Hyper API in here, and a number of the features we glanced over earlier. Now let's say that, okay, well, I want to do this. I don't want to have to describe it every time. So let's pick, here's another one. We got the e-commerce. So I told Claude, hey, just build me a skill. So I built a skill, a little command called Kaggle Tableau. All I do is give it the URL, and it's going to run to download that and make that available to me. All right, where are we at? Okay, let's move on. So we'll check back in. All right, so revisiting the embedding API. So let's do this. We're going to launch Claude, but this time we're going to do a remote control. All right, Claude's on. And actually, let's see, I want to resume a prior session. So let's resume. And yeah, we're going to do that. Yep. Okay, so let's pull up. Our. All right, hey, who saw me last year at the Tableau conference? You might remember this. We talked about doing cool stuff with math. All right, so I'm going to step away from the computer. I've got my Claude app open on my phone. And all right, I'm going to open up my remote control session. And I'm just going to, what should we do? Yeah, let's do down here. I'm going to take a picture of this website and the dashboard. All right, I got a picture of the screen. And I'm going to say, build a basic embedding site using the theme of this dashboard and embed it. Embed. All right, so let's pop back over to Claude Code and see what's happening. All right, little text-to-speech issue there, but hopefully Claude can work it out. You can see as an image that's attached in there. Here it goes. Yeah, I checked my usage before I came up here to make sure we weren't going to hit some block, so hopefully that's still all good. There comes a moment when you get into Claude Code on your $20 Pro plan where you realize, uh-oh, I'm going to need a max plan. All right, so let's see. So let's check in to see, so we have some context in here around, hey, what does this actually mean? Build an API, or build an embedded site using the embedded API. So I'm going to let that finish, but in the interest, well, let's see, are you almost done? In the interest of time, I'm going to show you one I did earlier. So I'm going to keep checking back though, let's see. All right, so we'll catch up if it finishes here. So this was a demo dry run I did earlier. I said just embed the dashboard. It spits this out. Gave it the title, but there was an issue. You see the scroll bar pop up. So I just said, hey, can you fix the embed window? It's causing there to be a scroll bar. So it did that. It's going to load the dashboard each time. And then I said, let's see, can we do it live? Still working. Then I said, hey, I just want to add some filters. And I also want to, something that I get asked for a lot when we build dashboards is, you laugh if this happens to you, like, hey, can you add like a reset button? So I said, yeah, let's add some filters and a reset button. So this object on the side here is all JavaScript objects. Still working, huh? And then, let's actually click one to show you that it works. Now the dashboard's not really set up to run with the filters, but let's take a look just to show you that it's actually live, right? And then the reset button. Now I said, okay, I have this like cool calendar widget on here. Can you create a filter that's somewhat like that calendar widget? It's like, yeah, I'll give it a try, sure. So it added this filter off to the side. So hopefully what I'm showing you in this demo, you can see this is a live filter here. And then the last thing I said, what other information can I pull out of a sheet? Like, can you show me all of the sheets that are on the dashboard? And what information can you tell me about them? So I use the other margin over here to show. So it's going to load a lot of information about the sheets that are out there, all of the parameters that are in the dashboard, all kinds of data that you can pull out of a dashboard using the embedding API. So I can pop these open. I just told it I want some collapsible objects. So all of this was done in maybe 10 minutes the first time I did it. Now, this goes beyond what I did in that hot for hots way back when. Okay, so let's see, did we finish here? Yeah, I want to do all that. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, just go for it. All right, let's see. What else should we do? Okay, so revisiting that first demo I did. Let's say that I just want to have data ready to go. Any week, I want a new data set so I can go do some Tableau public, like work on my catalog. So here I am in the Claude app. You can see chat, cowork, code. All right, and I set up what's called a routine. What the routine is it's repeatable steps to go and load another, in this case, another Kaggle data set. But in this case, I said, hey, just sort by hot and find one we haven't downloaded and publish it to Tableau. I'm going to have that run now. So what that's going to do is just pick a data set for me. Now, the routines can be scheduled. So it's just something that runs however often I want it to run. So there's some automation available in Claude Code. And then, let's see. I don't even know if we're going to get to the rest of this. So I had this idea to, did you guys vote on the heart board over there? Like, hey, what's your favorite thing about coming to Tableau? You took a little sticker. So I took a picture of that and I sent that into Claude Code and I said, hey, just count the dots. Tell me count them by color, count them by topic, and then publish that using the Hyper API. And that worked fine. So the last one on here that I was going to run through is just documenting a workbook is the entry point to get to learning like what's in the XML code. And Tableau can do that with ease, or Claude can do that with ease. It can load the file, it can break down all your calculations, and it can add anything else from the file that you want it to do. So with that said, I want to bring up, let's go back to the presentation. All right, so I'm going to bring up Keith Trout. So anybody see Keith? So Keith's a hackathon finalist this year. I don't know if any of you guys voted in the hackathon for fan favorite, but just going to ask Keith a few questions. So Keith and I work together. We've known each other for a while. So first question, what was the first year you used Tableau?
I started in 2007.
All right. Yeah, almost 20 years. All right. And what's your background in software development?
Just started a couple months ago.
Yeah, 0. Okay. So so back in, so let's take a look at a few of the things you've built. So like tell me about the Viz extension that you built.
So yeah, I've done a lot of different BI solutions over the years, and I did some work in Power BI, and they had this wonderful visualization type called a decomposition tree, which really resonated with my clients, being able to take any metric and just decompose it into different chunks. And I just saw a gap. I mean, there were options out there for pay, and I said, well, what if I just design it for myself? This would be a great Claude Code exercise, and I built it, and my client loves it, so it's great.
Yeah, and so you built a Viz extension, and then you thought, hey, what if I built like a fully featured desktop application? The natural jump.
Well, I didn't naturally say I want to just go and dive right in on that, but
well, how'd you get started with Tablins?
I just we were working together on a project. You have a way of doing your calculations and nomenclature, and I'm like, we're bringing our stuff together. I'm like, I need to be able to understand and trace through all this, and we both build the same way. We build our calculations up. I needed something that allowed me to quickly shift through all the different layers of a calculation.
Yeah.
And it just started with that simple idea, and with conversation with my buddy Claude, we were able to build something that turned into a product.
Yeah, awesome. And so Keith, like obviously doesn't have a background as a software developer, but all of a sudden he just hit me up on Teams to be like, hey, can you take a look at this? So he puts out this like this really cool like workbook, metadata, edit calculations, like do all this stuff for the hackathon. And then he's like, oh, I also built this other thing to help with migrations, or just if you want to have like a dev test prod environment, it just makes it super easy. So how long did it take you to build your tab promote?
I started it on a Saturday, and I finished sometime around Tuesday. And then on tab promote, I think that was all in Saturday, Sunday. I just started to get a momentum, and I have to make sure my wife's okay with this. But it's been rough trying to balance, because it's even when I go to bed at night, my brain's just cranking away.
You got a list, yeah. And then like you went a step further. You're like, hey, we're working on a project right now. We're doing a lot of design work. He's like, hey, I just made my own design tool. Come check it out. Sent me a link.
Yeah, so Visme is just a simple web application where you can quickly wireframe. I mean, I've done it in Figma, but you know, this is just stupid easy. You just drag and drop, and you can easily create a PNG or PDF and send to your client.
So thanks, Keith. Everybody give it up for Keith. All right, so with just a few seconds left, like the point is, when you hit that momentum, all of a sudden you've realized there's no barriers, like these barriers that you built up in your head, like I can't do that, I haven't taken the class, I haven't been working in this field for 10 years like these other people. All those barriers are gone. Go get yourself a developer account. Go get yourself Claude Code. Gather all the other stuff you're gonna need and just get to work. Think of an idea, plan it with Claude, and go and build it. Thank you, everybody.